So are market analyst John Layfield, Larry Schofer, and Nicole Petallides at the New York Stock Exchange. Nicole, ending with you, I want to begin with you on how the markets are playing this healthcare soap opera playing out. They tend to move up when it looks like it might go the president's way and the Republicans' way, sell off when it doesn't. Is that keeping the rule here or what?
They are watching this one more closely than anything. A good movie, a bad movie, a soap opera, whatever you want to call it. But they are very in tune with this vote this afternoon. And so with that, we've watched the market. And now we just heard Representative Franks on your network just now on with you saying that the Freedom Caucus and the moderates were talking. That brings some optimistic ideas about the bill. But at the same time, the traders are circulating that Paul Ryan's been brought to the White House now for this afternoon. So what's going on? So they're getting jittery. But the big picture here is they still feel optimistic about President Trump. They still think he's the jobs president. But they're worried if this doesn't go through, then what happens to the tax cuts, et cetera, et cetera.
Larry, do you buy the line that some of the folks in the market don't really care now? And I say it to explain it this way, that they like what President Trump said. One way or the other, we're going to get to those tax cuts. It'd be great if this thing passes, but if it doesn't, we move on to the tax cuts. Now, I'm told by people who know about how Congress can and can't do things that it's easier said than done. But the market seems to be betting, look, tax cuts are still on the table, and that's fine with us, even if this thing goes up in flames.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, there's been two underpinnings in the market in the last 6 weeks, and that's been tax reform, or since a phenomenal tax plan came out in early February, and also nominal growth. So, yeah, I think the market's already priced in the fact that they don't really care about the health care bill passing or not, and moving on to this holy grail of tax reform that people are just pinning so much hope on.
You know, it's interesting, too, John Layfield, when you look at this, that the more the markets look at this health care package, much like general average Americans looking at it, and polls I know are always in the eye of the beholder, but average Americans hearing what they're hearing about benefits that might be sort of scaled back and taxes, et cetera, that might stay on the books, they seem to be washing their hands of it. And I'm wondering if the view that Obamacare as it stands now, to fight another battle another day to correct it, that becomes the winning view.
I think it is. The president has put a really good spin on this. Look, this is a potentially devastating loss if Obamacare repeal doesn't pass. But the president has got a great spin on this that, look, this is it. Congress, you got your chance. He's passed it off to Congress. If it happens or if it doesn't happen, we're going straight to tax cuts, which is what the market, I think, and Americans want. Remember, the market was flat for basically 2 years, from November to 2014 and November 2016. The only thing that changed was President Trump was elected, and I think the tax cuts and the regulation reform is the reason that this market has gone up, and the market wants to get the tax cuts.
Nicole, what if it doesn't get either? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the one thing that saved this market, Nicole, is that it hasn't had a big old temper tantrum like it did with TARP when that fell apart with President Bush. And I think the market dropped to 777 points back then. And then Congress regroups past TARP, and then we learned the markets would still bleed for months to come. But the markets haven't had a tantrum like that. And that maybe the only way to get these guys off the stick is that I'm talking about Congress, is to have a tantrum like that. What do you think?
You know, it's very interesting. You make a great point. We really haven't had the volatility other than the night that President Trump was elected and we had that big sell-off of over 800 points. We really haven't had the pullback. We had that 1% pullback this week that we haven't seen since before the election. But I have to tell you, they still hold the optimism. I was talking with one trader who said, Nicole, I'm sitting here. I got to tell you, my clients just want me to buy the dips. He goes, I can't even understand it. He said, I don't even understand it. They're not hedging. They want me to buy the dips. And so while there is the worry, if this doesn't go through, does tax cuts go through? If that doesn't go through, is he still the greatest jobs president? Does he still boost the economy in so many other ways with so many other great ideas?
We'll see. Real quickly on that, Larry, what do you think?
Well, I think these investors that are doing that are setting themselves up to be disappointed, at least for the next 50 points. I mean, be a bat tax or any kind of bill, Senate's not going to pass that. How much longer do Republicans have to fight about it? think of the deficit hawks out there with the unfunded tax plan. Do you think that's going to pass? Are they going to block something like that? Or how about the unfunded taxes that are due to expire or sunset in the next 10 years? Is that stimulative to the economy? I don't know. It's hard to say. And the last thing is, think of, like, how about if there's a material delay when it comes to individual tax reform and or infrastructure spending? I think that spells, short-term doom to our market, and I think people are being far too casual and setting themselves up for short-term disappointment.
John, real quickly, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we are probably due a pullback, what Larry is alluding to. The market, when you talk to anybody in the market, they're worried about the fact that the president and the administration could get caught up with Obamacare and the repeal and not get to the tax cuts and not get to the reform. Corporate tax cut especially, it's a bipartisan issue. That is what the market desperately wants and I believe needs.
All right, guys, we'll watch closely.